Well, our final leg of our adventure
in old New York
is about to take place, and you're looking a little hungry. So
peckish, a little bit. How could you tell?
So I brought a snack
you
for
did
you.
not. A sleeve. A sleeve of Oreos.
A sleeve of Oreos. I brought those for you.
Does watching us on YouTube will see us waving around a sleeve of Oreos, not opening them because I don't think we're allowed to in here.
No, but I'm not. It's for a very specific reason, let me just say. So we're going downtown, still on the west side, of course. We're taking the 9th Avenue elevated train down to 14th Street, okay?
Sure.
And from there, we'll alight from the train and we'll walk down the steps and we'll walk 1 block west.
1 block west of over to 10th Avenue and 14th Street. This area is not looking or smelling really as pleasant as our last 2 stops, Greg. No dancing girls, no elegant hotels here.
None of those things. No, not at all. However, I am going to tie this back to the start of our story here, to the Astor family again. It's sort of a continuation, believe it or not, but I'm going to take it into an entirely different direction.
Yeah, looking around here at 10th Avenue and 14th Street, Astor is not the very first name that comes to mind.
No, not at all, no.
We are very far from Gilded Age 5th Avenue mansions.
Oh, yeah. No sumptuous mansions in sight, no ballrooms, but we're going to see a lot of cookies. Cookies, salted crackers, saltines, Tom, saltines, wheat thins, Teddy Grahams.
Teddy Grahams. Two words never uttered on the Bowery Boys podcast.
In fact, we're going to New York's closest equivalent to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Come with me, and you'll be in the neighborhood of the Meatpacking District.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, that song always makes me tear up. I am so eager to see where you can lead me anywhere right now, Greg.
Yeah, Chippehoy trees, Nutter Butter Lake. Instead of Oompa Loompas, we'll have club kids from the 1990s.
I'm having all of it. Continue.
All right, but let's paint this picture, okay? A place of never-ending happiness and tooth decay, where innovators have been mixing and matching dough, chocolate, preservatives, and all that good stuff since the year 1890. And a place where the most famous cookie of all was born. They're going to the former factory of Nabisco.
But wait, did you say in the Meatpacking District?
Yes.
Like cookie dough was happening next to all of that cattle?
Let's just say the making of delicious desserts is nothing like a Gene Wilder movie. And just outside the walls of this glorious cookie-making factory on 10th Avenue and West 15th Street sat one of the centers of meat packing and processing in the United States, like right outside the door. Let me rewind a little bit, actually, to the era of Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, and in fact to a business concept, not quite as delicious as a cookie, business concept known as a trust.
Okay. Well, that was a hard pivot.
Yes.
Let's talk trusts. When I think trusts, I think like Gilded Age corruption and scandals and lawsuits, right?
Right.
A trust is a way for several competitors in an industry to bond together, often secretly, in order to cooperate, and to regulate their prices and their competition, and often to place the production of one particular product under a sort of corporate hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And these first came into prominence in the 1880s with John D. Rockefeller Sr. and the Standard Oil Trust.
Yeah. U.S. Steel Corporation is another example of a major American trust. But it wasn't just for oil and steel moguls. We could all get into the trust game back then. Before the days of antitrust laws, many industries took up this model, which could create monopolies or near monopolies of entire industries. Even theaters, as is with the case of Claude Erlinger, which were these traveling theater companies, they could dominate the traveling theater circuit. And even their early cinema was subject to a trust known as the Edison Trust.
So are you saying that there was also a baked goods trust? Or are we talking about cattle slaughtering?
Oh, no. Well, there was probably one for cattle too, but we're talking a baked goods trust. In fact, a couple trusts in this particular industry founded in Chicago. I actually read an article in the Chicago Tribune dated January 30th, 1890 that spells all of this out very vividly. Quote, "The latest wrinkle in the line of trusts is the scheme now in process of development for the formation of a gigantic cracker and biscuit trust. Officially, it will be known as the New York Biscuit Company."
Did you say this was formed in Chicago?
Yes, that's very interesting, right? I mean, this article, it was like a villain in a Batman comic book just explaining his crimes. And this article goes on to elaborate on what they're planning on doing. Quote, "The reason for organizing a company in Illinois to do business in New York are said to be two, namely, a good part of the capital for the new venture comes from the West, and the state of Illinois has seldom showed any marked dislike for trust combinations.
Oh.
You see, for a number of years, there has been a sort of implied understanding between the big cracker makers in the East in regards to selling their goods at a uniform figure, wink, wink, unquote."
So in other words, this was all about price fixing and eliminating competition.
Right.
God, who knew that saltines were so cutthroat?
I mean, you know.
Wait, I probably can't even say that name. It's a brand name. Who knew that crackers?
Crackers with salt upon them.
Who knew that's how the cookie crumbled?
In particular, this trust, the New York Biscuit Company, had the backing of some major industry names like George Pullman, who built the railroad cars.
Sure.
And Philip Armour of the Chicago meatpacking trade. Okay, are you starting to see the connection? So I imagine that with that backing and those connections, that may have played a role in where the New York Biscuit Company decided to build its factory. Within a Romanesque style complex of 6-story bakeries on the east side of 10th Avenue, running from 15th to 16th Street.
And so is this where the Astors come in because they own the land?
Yes. Even though we have a few places in New York City that are named for the Astors, like the Astor Place, Astoria, I think you could fairly rename the Meatpacking District after Astor as well. According to the Gansevoort Street designation report, quote, "Spurring development within the historic district was the 1878 partition of real estate owned by the Astor family, which had remained underdeveloped since John Jacob Astor's acquisition in 1819. Of the 104 buildings in the district, over 1/3 of them were constructed by the Astors and related family members." Unquote. And in fact, the Astors would own this land that we're talking about here until 1919.
And also by this time in the late 19th century, this part of the West Side was a major industrial hub, right? As we just discussed in our mini-series on the history of the West Village. And there had been street-grade railroad tracks, that ran down 11th Avenue and 10th Avenue, which serviced all of these big waterfront industries and factories and warehouses. And of course, that just created such chaos. It became so dangerous that the railroad cars had to be guided down the avenue by so-called West Side cowboys.
And as charming as it is to imagine these cowboys leading these railroad cars down the street, and even with all this massive community outcry, this avenue was still a menace to pedestrians at the time that they moved in. As the New York Biscuit Company was making itself home here, the New York World remarked that the trains which serviced these industries were, quote, a monster which had menaced the population night and day.
So it sounds like a big mess outside in the streets.
Yeah.
But how were things inside the New York Biscuit Company? Were they nice and warm? Or
considerably more pleasant. It was, in fact, according to King's Handbook, quote, by far the greatest producer in the world of biscuits or crackers. It supplies its widespread trade by means of teams, railroads, and vessels. Its products reach all civilized parts of the world. So it was a little fine-smelling destination here in the middle of this treacherous place.
I'm just considering all the workers who were heading over to the biscuit company next to all of these abattoirs, next to the blood running through the streets. A cookie company certainly would have helped the smells of the neighborhood, right?
Oh, absolutely. But all was not looking good in cookie land overall, Tom.
Oh.
For the New York Biscuit Company, right, was a trust, as I said, of baked good concerns in the East. But there was another trust. I know, that sounds incredible. There was another
trust
of Western bakers. This was only of the East. So there was Western bakers. They had their own trust called the American Biscuit and Manufacturing Company. So these two trusts went into fierce battle with one another throughout the decade, okay? So it was an uneasy time to debut a new cookie. A new baked good. This big trust war was happening. However, in 1898, just as New York City was consolidating into Greater New York, right? It became all the 5 boroughs in that year. Well, that's also when the cookie world also consolidated. And then those two trusts were combined to form the National Biscuit Company, or NBC.
NBC. No, a different NBC.
A different NBC. What's interesting, though, if you walk around this area today, this massive collection of buildings in the Meatpacking District, you will actually see the letters NBC carved in a couple places, but that's what it means. National Biscuit Company.
The combined trust.
Yes. Although supporters and people who worked there would shorten it to Nabisco. Although its opponents, they would continue to call them the Cracker Trust. So, but like Nabisco is a shortened version that
Nabisco National Biscuit Company.
Right. Now, they controlled 114 bakery companies, but their headquarters were right here in today's Meatpacking District.
And you said this massive collection of buildings.
Yeah.
So had they expanded beyond this first bakery?
Oh, yes. I mean, they took over the entire block of 15th and 16th Street between 9th and 10th Avenues. They built an 11-floor building between 10th and 11. That's the one that says NBC on it. And then by 1906, the corporate headquarters, which was still located in Chicago, they just transferred it all to New York, thus making this little corner of the city the most powerful maker of baked goods in the United States.
And you just keep saying baked goods here, but can you please break this down, Greg? Which particular products, desserts, biscuits, what was made here?
Well, perhaps the most important, like the number one most important thing that came out of this location is something that you probably wouldn't recognize or even remember today. And that was a soda cracker named Uneeda Biscuit, which debuted shortly after the merger of these two companies. Uneeda Biscuit.
Uneeda Biscuit really does sound like a contestant on RuPaul's Drag Race. It's right up there with like Uneeda Cocktail.
But seriously though, I mean,
Uneeda Biscuit, Greg.
You're joking, but Uneeda Biscuit did have a look.
Whoa.
The mascot was a little boy in a raincoat. And here's the important part of why it's so important. Because at this time, one of the major snack competitors was another product with a child on the label, and that was Cracker Jack. So a lot of
Oh.
people were putting children on their labels as branding. But the other reason, and what's important, is that raincoat, because Uneeda
Mhm.
was the first baked good to be sold in individual boxes. So not in so-called Cracker Barrels, right? Like you have to get them in these bigger containers. Now you could buy crackers in smaller, individually wrapped products. Whole thing with the cracker, right?
So this sounds like a triumph in packaging. Uneeda was
No.
important for this revolution in packaging and keeping things fresh.
Right, because then, all of these baked goods could be packaged in similar ways. And that's why we were able to have a sleeve of cookies in front of us today, right? It was such a signature brand, Uneeda Biscuit, that in 1899, there was a Uneeda Biscuit parade in New York City, which marched through the city. It originated here at the bakery. So
Because
imagine that.
you need a parade.
You need a parade, New York City. They had mounted police. They had 112 horse-drawn bakery wagons.
Oh, cool.
I wonder if they were throwing things to the crowd.
You know they were.
And a 9-foot-tall parrot float of a parrot enjoying a gigantic biscuit for itself.
Why a parrot?
Look, Polly want a cracker. Polly need a biscuit.
Apparently, that's what they had on hand. Unfortunately, Uneeda biscuits were discontinued in 2009.
Yeah.
But what a long run.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we didn't need such a long-lasting cracker anymore, or we had other ways to
Yes.
to package them.
Yes.
We didn't need a. We no longer need it.
But its
No.
legacy is felt to this day.
Certainly.
However, perhaps the more beloved treat, which was invented here in the Meatpacking District, is a little invention called the Oreo. 2 chocolate cookies clinging to each other with a dab of cream, originally called the Oreo biscuit or the Oreo sandwich.
And the Oreo really was invented in the Nabisco Factory.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, today, the block along 9th Avenue between 15th and 16th is called Oreo Way.
Now, I hate to be controversial, but I'm going to be controversial.
This is a hot button issue you've gotten us into here.
But,
yes.
and I've said this before, so people should may not be surprised when I bring this up, but the Oreo is a blatant ripoff of the Hydrox cookie, which was invented
Here come the cookie
Oreo,
people.
and it was invented in Missouri. It was a Missouri bakery. It was Sunshine Biscuits.
Oh,
okay?
yeah, sure.
Hydrox was first, and it's the same thing. It's pretty much the same, right? But what Oreo has was Nabisco's incredible marketing and advertising team here. And it was in New York, right? It had access to all those creatives as well. And so eventually the Hydrox was completely overtaken. Like like ice cream shops don't sell Hydrox flavored ice cream, but they do Oreos.
Maybe really niche, bespoke ice cream vendors got the Hydrox.
I will only eat a Hydrox themed ice cream, thank you.
That's not an Oreo.
I mean, but they are sold today. It's more of a niche snack product. Like the cool kids.
The Hydrox, you can still get a Hydrox.
You can. They're harder to find.
Sure. But in New York, we are loyal. We are loyal to the Knicks.
Yes, to the next
and to Oreos.
Yes.
Especially the double stuffed. I don't know. I'm not really a double stuffed. You like double stuffed?
On occasion, when I'm feeling extra. There's actually many different varieties of Oreos. Have you looked? There's actually too many varieties. I won't get into it. That's for another show. Maybe for Side Streets, we'll just do a whole rundown of my favorite and least favorite Oreos. Anyway, the factory has also expanded in more interesting physical ways as it goes through the 20th century. In 1930, it expanded further into a pre-existing factory that was on 14th Street, and then they connected the 14th Street factory and the 15th Street factory with a tiny little sky bridge, right? An enchanting little piece of Art Deco architecture that's still there today. It's beautiful. Then in the mid-1930s, little bit later, when the city decided to build an elevated railroad through the area, taking out those street-level tracks, that new West Side Elevated Railroad was then connected to the Nabisco Factory. In fact, it passes through the factory.
And of course, today, that's the High Line. And in fact, that section of the elevated park, the High Line, was first opened in 2009. So going back to the 1930s here, when all of that was happening and being built, how long did Nabisco stay here in these factories?
Well, unfortunately, like so many other businesses by the mid-century, by the 1950s, they fled New York. They actually moved in 1958 to Fair Lawn, New Jersey, where they remained until 2021, and then they moved again. The factories here in the Meatpacking District then sat empty for many decades, as did many, because all these businesses escaped. But flash forward to April 9th, 1997, when a portion of this vast Nabisco factory opened under a new name, the Chelsea Market, which featured many different food suppliers, including Amy's Bread, was there from the beginning and became the first bakery to return to this spot in many, many decades.
Yeah. We remember that.
Yeah.
It was a big deal,
I know.
remember? But I think we take it for granted today just how groundbreaking the Chelsea Market was, right? That this was moving into this old factory building. You know, that was hot and new and different. And it was...
Didn't we even think it was like luxurious and hoity-toity back in the 90s, right? I mean, like,
it was.
At the time, of course, like that model has been used so many different places around the city and the country. As the New York Times wrote upon its debut in 1997, quote, "The new Chelsea Market, a cook's cosmopolis supplying the epicure in need with everything from lobsters to dairy fresh milk in a series of deli-sized storefronts inside the old Nabisco factory on 9th Avenue at 16th Street, has coined a style all its own. Call it primordial chic. It probably will not inspire new collections by Ralph Lauren or Calvin Klein. Its 3-ton slabs of drill-scarred granite and blasted brick arches, not to mention the belly-side views of squirming Congo eels and African jumping frogs overhead at the elevators, barely scream, don't try this at home. But the new market just might be idiosyncratic enough to earn a permanent spot on Manhattan's limited list of new public spaces worth gawking at," unquote.
I'd say it did earn its spot.
Still
on that
going
list.
strong. I'd say it's even more crowded than ever.
And of course, today, that building, all the floors above it, the offices above it in that old factory are today owned and occupied by Google. But never forget, listener, you need to never forget, listener, the true importance and the full story of this very important building in cookie history.
We want to thank you all for drifting through time with us today. Of course, if you want many more adventures in old New York, we have a host of ways to join the fun.
We have hundreds
Yes,
of these.
These 3 stories are based on little pieces that are contained within our book, Adventures in Old New York. The 10th anniversary edition was just released on Ulysses Press.
Right. Look for it at your local bookstore. Find it online. But thank you for picking up a copy of this special 10th anniversary edition. You can also head over right now to BoweryBoysHistory.com to dive into our back catalog of hundreds and hundreds, nearly 500 Bowery Boys episodes. We have a special new search feature, actually. Click the episode finder at the top, and you can easily search, more easily than ever, through our entire back catalog. That's BoweryBoysHistory.com.
So thank you very much for listening. Have a great New York week, whether you live here or not.
See you real soon.